Good evening, and thank you for joining Final Video Blog for Preparing for the Future, Module 8. For my final presentation, I have decided to analyze television. Prior to delving into the technology and the function that it serves, let's review some of the historical and archival significance, especially the invention stage. According to an article by Stephen Mitchell found on the nyu.edu website, open quote, electronic television was first successfully demonstrated in San Francisco on September 7, 1927. The system was designed by Philo Taylor Farnsworth, a 21-year-old inventor who lived in a house without electricity until he was 14 years old. While still in high school, Farnsworth had begun to conceive of a system that would capture moving images in a form that could be coded onto radio waves and then transformed back into a picture on the screen. End quote. Prior to Farnsworth finalizing the movie picture screen, a Russian, Boris Rosing, had some preliminary success in transmitting images, and that was about 16 years before Farnsworth's first success. While there were other attempts at the electronic picture viewer, Farnsworth's invention was the very first technology using scanned images with a beam of electrons, making it the most accurate ancestor of our modern television. As a fun fact, the very first image that was transmitted was a simple line. As to the function that television serves, our next noted is best when Johnson quoted Mulcahy, who said, open quote, to show what our social meaning of television varies with and depends on the social context with which it is employed, end quote. He also states that it is much more difficult to show what it is to count on as working television set, similarly context depending on any significant respect, end quote, found on page 80. From that perspective statement, from my standpoint, it translates to indicating the benefit suits the respective viewer's lens, and not necessarily what the specific program is attempting to employ. Television functions as a driving communicator. It does have the ability to transfer in seconds breaking news, political speeches, a variety of unlimited yet limited entertainment, in addition to some history, futuristic programs, things along that nature. Television is the ultimate medium, being leveraged by politicians, advertisers, storytellers alike. Television has been described as one of the most democratizing and liberating forces according to David Lilienthal's TVA, Democracy on the March, found on page 10. And also within our book, found on page 238, the most obvious example for use of television, this is a quote, is to market politicians and manipulate voters. Indeed, most people never see a politician except on TV, most likely in a firmly controlled design to communicate exact message and image desired by the politicians and their media advisors, end quote. That comment strikes me as interesting, as I currently see television solely as a core form of entertainment and, get my news elsewhere. But then again, I could imagine where politics can be entertaining on multiple occasions. While television is continuously evolving from a technological standpoint, it has become common and widespread. According to my research, the last consensus was taken in 2003, which is quite a while back. And in order for the nations to have a corresponding breakdown of TVs that they had per capita or per household, and they are as follows, and this is found on nationmaster.com under info and stats within media and television. The leading country would be China with 400 million television sets, followed by the United States with 219 million, and Japan coming in at third with 86.5 million. Other nations are closely following as television becomes the key form of communication, and those numbers are wildly increasing and sure to continue to be on the rise with the use of satellite transmission availability as well as wireless television. With regards to television and its relationship with society, according to my research, I feel that although there is no predisposed view depending on television networks, television and society are independent on one another. Society drives the demand, and television continues to drive the supply, which I suppose is the excuse for reality television. As cultural norms and expectations change, so does the information shown on TV. As we overcome specific situations of social accomplishments, it is shown on television, and as tweens and teenagers start becoming consumers, they will shape the future of television with their purchasing power. Television continues to be a passive and remote social experience, but being directly responsible for community safety is a uniquely an active experience. At the very least, security personnel doing the monitoring can remain proximate to communities, visible and approachable by people within their communities rather than located on a remote surveillance farms, far away from both physically and socially from the people that they observe. Per quote on page 552. The appetite of the viewer complemented with social and cultural practice is shaping television. As previously stated as an example of reality TV, consider this. When has it become a social norm to watch people bathing, conducting their normal business in full view of the general public? It is driving the future of television. As for my specific unique tastes, give me Matlock, Golden Girls, and Walker, Texas Ranger. Everybody loves Chuck. As for focusing within television, I would like to further discuss news reporting as an angle seen through the lens of television personnel and viewers. I'm always amazed at how two different angles of specific news story depending on the network I watch. As described on page 238, the technology is the main communicator of the theme corrected. An earlier quote I used for my text is an example of the use of television to market politicians and manipulate voters. The book then goes on to two specific points within the political application arena. One of them is, open quote, President Ronald Reagan raised such a political marketing as to an art form in the 1980s. On many occasions, visits were set up, TV images arranged, the president in front of a flag with a military cemetery behind him, so that the viewers and political voters receive precisely the visual message intended by Reagan's media advisors. The second quote, again also in the book, open quote, tightly controlled TV images are similarly important to President George W. Bush, as reflected, for example, in the landing of as a co-pilot of a jet plane on an aircraft carrier in order to announce, erroneously of course, that the end of the hostilities with the Iraq War in 2003, end quote. With that said, potential for positivity via television is countless, especially on a humanity as well as a personal well-being level. Television can be educational, informative, provide warnings of weather conditions, as well as communicate general announcements to deviate from dangerous situations. Television can also promote healthy habits with exercise and yoga programming and can keep you connected with regards to news and even pose-based reality TV. While television has the potential to communicate positively, it also has the opposing effect, which are a little bit more negative, and some other negative implications. I found this best stated in the New York article, NewYork.edu article by Stephen. This is open quote, the effects of television on children, particularly through emphasis on violence and sex, has been a long-standing issue for social scientists, parents, and politicians. Networks, talk shows, and tabloid news shows programs seem to broaden and further frank sensationalized on-air discussion of sex, end quote. This perception leads to ratings which is also questioned by critics due to censorship undertones. Overall, this opens the wider debate of whose responsibility is it to monitor what our children watch. In my case, I do have a 4-year-old, and I prefer the television programming that I do prefer in order to make sure that it's always safe content and there's something pretty much harmless on the television set where he doesn't have to accidentally turn around and see blood or gore and things along that nature. Other than that, stay tuned and continue to progress with the television. Thank you for tuning in to Module 8. I apologize for the little bit of laryngitis I have. I've been fighting a bug. And hope you enjoyed all of the other video blogs. And this is the last one. It's almost sad. Watch television safely. Have a very good night.